Hello and welcome to Wireman's Whimsy. Today we are going to make this lovely card using a couple of different techniques. One is a background stamp and one is an embossing folder. So first off though, I'd like to shout out to all the people who have subscribed and are leaving me comments. I love hearing from you, so please keep it up. And if you're not currently a subscriber, please do hit that subscribe button and get notifications for our next videos. I usually post every couple of days. So let's get started with this I'm Thinking of You stamp card. We are using the Stacked Stone background stamp as well as the Art Gallery stamp set. And with it, we are going to use the Old World Paper 3D embossing folder. It's just gorgeous. I don't know if I can tip it enough that you can actually see the detail on there, but it is just gorgeous. So that's what we'll be using. We're using Rococo Rose and Melon Mambo for the flowers and Gray Granite for the background. So to make this, we are going to need a card base in Gray Granite. And the card base is the standard 8.5 by 5.5, and then you fold it over and it becomes 5.5 by 4.25. And then you will need a 5.25 by 4 piece of Rococo Rose for your mat. And you're going to need a piece of Whisper White, large enough that you can cut using the largest stitched rectangle die. So let's get started. I'm just going to move these things off to the side. We'll need them a bit later, but not for now. Put that over there. So one of the reasons that I have made this oversize is because the Stacked Stone background stamp, like all background stamps, is really large and I want to oversize it. You'll see how I've got the flowers kind of off the edge, and that I did on purpose. So I'm just going to put this on my largest block and push it down. And then I'm going to ink it up. And I tried a couple of different versions of this, and I tried one with second value, and I didn't like it quite as much. So I'll show that version to you once I've stamped this one. So I'll just close that up, and then I'm going to just stamp this down. Give it a good press. Another way to do this is to use the Stamparatus. And you can see that I have indeed missed at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if that is going to make a difference. I will still be able to get my die cut out of there without that bottom piece on. So we're okay. Otherwise, I just turn it over and I would do it again. So what we're going to do now is we are going to stamp the flowers, but I did promise to show you the difference. This is full value when it's wet. This is full value when it's dry. You can see this is darker and it's dried lighter. Before I've talked about how the inks are slightly different when they're wet, but when they're dry, they are lighter. And this is the second value. So I stamped this one and then I stamped this one. It's much more subtle, but with the colors in the flowers, I do prefer the full value background. So I am going to start stamping the flowers. And you can do them wherever you like. You can do more, you can do less, you can just do one in the middle if you like. So I stamped one off to the side at the bottom, and then kind of at an angle, and then again just in here like that. So, and even with the Rococo Rose, you can see it's a bit different and then it dries. So no worries if your colors look a little bit off when you first stamp them. They will become true. And then I'm going to take my Melon Mambo, and I'm going to use one of the floral centers. It is a 2-step stamp or 3-step stamp, depending on how you want to do it. But I'm just going to use one of the floral centers, and it wouldn't be a video if I hadn't put my finger in the ink. So there we go. And I'm just going to pop these down, and it fits on all of the flowers, even though the flowers are different sizes, and just adds that little bit extra to each one. And I'm just going to turn this around so that I can ink these up. And there we go. Just like that. Absolutely easy as that. So I'm going to close my ink pad. And I need to cut this out. I also need to emboss it. But what I need to do before I emboss is I need to cut it. Because if you run it through the embossing folder and it's all 3D, and then you run it through again to cut it, you are actually going to flatten it out again. It'll still have a bit of detail, but you are going to flatten it out again. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out your card front. And I'm going to load up my Stampin' Cut and Emboss. I've got the base. I've got the die cutting mat. It's the shim, and then I put the mat down. And then I put this on, line it up, sandwich it up. And again, I am putting this die through at an angle so there's not a straight edge going against the roller. And I will cut that out. Just run that through. And again, no big heavy thump at the end. It just goes through like a hot knife through butter if you put them through at an angle. And then I'm going to put these off to the side because I don't need them anymore. And I just need to gently, gently, gently pull my front out of the die. And I use the stitched rectangle dies a lot. I really like them. They just give that simple little bit of finish around the edge. It just takes a little bit of patience to get it out of the die so that we don't lose anything. There we go. All right, so that's the card front. The stitched rectangle, you kind of lose it a little bit on the edges, but I still do like to see it on there. Now we're going to emboss it. And when you have the embossing folder, there's a front and a back. And with this one, it doesn't really matter. You just need to realize what's going to be standing up proud and what's going to be laying down when you use it. So I am going to put this in, fold it over. I am going to put it right on the platform. The platform tells me what I need to do, and I'm using a 3D embossing folder. So I've got the base plate, I've got the folder, and then I've got the top plate, and I'm going to run that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And that one does thump because the end of the folder does that. Okay, so let's move all of this out of the way, and maybe I'll hold it up the back. You can see the detail in the back there. And what it does is it just adds a level of depth to the front of the card. It actually makes the stacked stone stamp look like it's 3D and look like it's actually stamped stone. So I am now going to assemble the card, basically. I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal and just put my Rococo rose backing on. Fuzzy edges there. And I'm going to center that, drop it down, and of course make sure I've got my card the right way around. And I'm just going to use the Stampin' Seal again, just to put this card front on. Now the die is slightly shorter than the 5 1/4 by 4 would be. So there we go. You have to just wiggle it a little bit to get it more even, because the die is slightly different than the normal gradients of stacking the mats. And then I've used from the set, the art gallery set, I've used the I'm Thinking of You, and then used the dies from the Floral Gallery dies. I've used the just the little label die, and I am going to put dimensionals on the back and just pop it out, and that is the card made. Again, it's relatively straightforward to do. I seem to have a problem with my dimensional. There we go. And then you can add ribbon to this if you want. You can do it in different colors. Every time I sit down, I think I'm going to make a masculine card, and I end up making one that's got flowers on it or one that's got pink on it. So this one you could absolutely use if you just wanted to use the leaves and then use one of the smaller flowers, or you could use another set entirely and do the stamped or the stacked stone background and emboss it after you stamped it, and that would make a really great masculine card as well. So as always, if there's anything that you saw in this video that you would like to purchase, please use the links below. And a reminder, we are still in celebration till the end of February. So in Canada, for every $60 you spend, you can choose a free item. So we look forward to seeing you next time, and please subscribe and get your notifications. Thanks so much.